Hello in the Youtooz, because one art form wasn't enough. Let's talk about Teenage Robot and its quite recent wave of online popularity. Much like the previously reviewed Powerpuff Girls and Kim Possible, I've done plenty of videos on the little underrated Nick cartoon known as My Life as a Teenage Robot. When I started getting back into the series in 2019, I was noticing that the show was gradually getting more and more attention. And I'm glad for that, because I think it's a pretty entertaining show with a great art style, fun cast of characters, good sense of humor, and an entertaining collection of sci-fi stories with a slice-of-life coming-of-age storyline. Now, most of what I've reviewed from this series included select episodes, home video releases, and weird online creepypastas based on the show. But now we're going to be looking at the recent wave of merch the show has been getting. You see, when the show first came out, the only real push for merchandise were t-shirts and the previously reviewed DVDs. And if you wanted to get something like, say, Jenny dolls or any other kind of miscellaneous merch, you'd probably have to go and get fan-created products off of places like eBay and Etsy. I find this pretty funny because in the show there's actually an episode where there's an evil company that makes a bunch of Jenny dolls for people to buy, which ultimately turn out to be a tool they're going to try and use to take over the world.
Come on, just look at her. How could you be afraid of something so adorable?
And while it's true that Powerpuff Girls did something similar to this with the episode Collect Her, that episode was mostly done as a way to make fun of the over-merchandising that was going on with Powerpuff Girls as a brand. While this episode, honestly, it just kind of feels like they wanted to do their own version of Small Soldiers. But now it seems we're getting a bit of a resurgence. The character of Jenny has been featured in various Nickelodeon games like Nick All-Star Brawl and Nick Kart Racers. The merch company Zen Monkey Studios, which dabbles in smaller items like pins and keychains, has made multiple Jenny pins, along with pins of other characters from the show, and even a Teenage Robot keychain. And now we've come to the most recent example of Teenage Robot merchandising. Yeah, within the last 2 years, this show from 2003 is finally getting merchandise. And it's from a company I never thought I would ever do a video on. Youtooz. Much like Funko, which I only really covered when I reviewed their Goofy Movie board game, I never really planned on doing a video about this company. Just like Funko, they seem to have quite an interesting relationship with online communities, and they have a handful of critics that talk about their prices, wait times, figure quality, partnership with China, and so on and so forth. Fun fact, along with this Jenny figure, I also ordered the Hot Rod Jenny and the Jenny plush doll that they had, and, well, this just happened to make it just a couple weeks ago. The Jenny plush is currently in Los Angeles at the moment, and they just notified me that they're just now getting around to shipping out the Hot Rod Jenny figure. But whereas Funko almost always did product tie-ins for popular franchises, Youtooz got its start making figurines out of memes and internet personalities. But now that they've gained more and more of a following, it seems that they also do merch for various well-known series, from movies to television to gaming to even web series. And one of those corporate connections goes up to Paramount, including Comedy Central and Nickelodeon, including various series like South Park, SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, Avatar, Invader Zim, and now My Life as a Teenage Robot, as well as another certain well-known character, Hatsune Miku. You're more than likely familiar with this character, but if you're not, long story short, Hatsune Miku is a Japanese virtual singer. Along with her albums, the character would go on to be featured in various merchandise, cosplayers at conventions, appearances in various anime, mangas, commercials, memes, and a general large online presence. With Miku and Jenny often being compared to one another because of their similar appearances, the fact that they're supposed to be adolescent robot girls, and the connection to Japanese pop culture. Miku being a Japanese superstar and well-known amongst the anime community, and Jenny being able to speak Japanese on account of her voice actress Janice Koei's Japanese heritage. And hey, I guess Youtooz saw a similarity with them as well, since long before doing a proper Jenny figurine, they made a Miku-Jenny hybrid, to go along with other various Hatsune Miku figures they have, like Strawberry Miku, Snow Miku, and Fall Guys Miku, and Garfield Miku. Oh, for the love of God, Youtooz. Even though I don't have the Hot Rod Jenny figure or the Jenny plush, I figured these would be good enough for a review, and who knows, maybe someday down the road I'll do a review of those two things separately. But for now, let's talk about some Teenage Robot, Jenny Miku, and Jenny Wakeman Youtooz figurines. Okay, so here are the two Youtooz that we're going to be talking about for this video. while still waiting for the Youtooz Jenny plushie and the Hot Rod Jenny to get here. We have these to talk about in the meantime. Jenny Miku is from last year, and the regular Jenny, the one on the left, that was from this year. So out of the two, we're going to start with Jenny Miku, since she was the first one. Move regular Jenny out of the way, and we're going to move her front and center. So this is actually a protective casing, and you'll see it's got the art on the side and on the back. And I guess for certain special figures like this, they decided to have a little window. Because typically a lot of protective casing on Youtooz figures look like this. This is an actual Hatsune Miku one. And you'll see that there is no window for it. You have to take it out of the sleeve, and then you actually see the real figure behind it. Hey, it's actually kind of Teenage Robot related. That show actually got merch now, all these years later. This was like 20 years after the fact. It was the first real, like, Jenny XJ9 figure, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, the sleeve itself has this little window, and then on the side here it has the Nickelodeon and Teenage Robot logo, along with the Hatsune Miku logo. And then the back here actually looks like a typical Youtooz box sleeve. But yeah, let's just take this part off, and then this is what the actual box looks like. And it's just basically the exact same thing. It has a little image of her in the corner. Jenny Miku, there's a little model number right there. And then just a silhouette on the back. And I like the use of colors. I mean, they have the right amount of blue, and you got some hot pink. That kind of goes along well with the certain features in the Miku outfit. Before we take it out of the box, I just want to point out they have like little quotes everywhere on the box as well. Like this is on the side, it just says, "My life as a teenage virtual singer." I have one right here as well. It's not really a quote, but it just says Hatsune Miku X Jenny. And as you can see, once again, in the inside of the box, they have the Teenage Robot and the Hatsune Miku logos. So yeah, nice little attention to detail. Oh, they have the silhouette over here on this side of the box, too. She has a little stand that she comes on, so I know it's going to be difficult because it's not a flat surface, so there we go. Let's just put her there. Okay, so as for the design itself, it looks really good. It perfectly captures both Jenny and Miku. The face and the eyes especially look like Jenny. The actual like body shape itself, underneath the Miku costume, pretty close to Jenny. Obviously, they got the hair, and the pigtails are supposed to look like Miku's, and they still have the little Jenny screws holding them in place, which is cute. I think overall, the best way to describe this is that it's a very neat little parody of Hatsune Miku, because so many people have made the connection of Jenny and Miku, so I think it's very appropriate. It works as both a Hatsune Miku figure and a Jenny figure. Even before they announced the actual proper Jenny figures, this actually is pretty good. It's a cute little idea. Honestly, I like the little face they gave her. It's very reminiscent of Jenny. And the pose, very Hatsune Miku. It's a very good combination of the two characters. They did a really good job with this one. I do swear that the stand actually works. The only reason that it's not working 100% is because this isn't a perfectly flat surface. But yeah, I mean, the stand works pretty well. I'm glad that they included it. It's especially handy when you actually do take it out of the box and you want to put it on your shelf. And now, back in the box she goes. Box sleeve back on. And voila, she's back in her proper place. But then you get to the real thing, which is the actual Jenny figure. And honestly, Youtooz, I'm going to say so many things about Youtooz, but if I can give Youtooz one thing, if the only Jenny figure they actually made was the Miku, I think I would have been okay with that. But the fact that they actually went ahead and they're making not just an actual Jenny figure, but they're also making a variation of it with the Hot Rod Jenny is pretty cool. And the fact that they're making a plushie of it is also pretty neat. They also had this, this is a thing that Youtooz does. I'm going to rant about this really quickly, but they had this ram version of Jenny because like the Youtooz mascot is a ram. So they've done a couple of them. They actually did make a ram version of Hatsune Miku, but yeah, they made one of Jenny, and I didn't get that one. I honestly didn't really care enough for it. So right off the bat, the protective casing is once again different. This time you'll see there's actually like a real plastic gloss to it. But one thing I really like about this protective casing is that it has a sci-fi kind of look to it, and you'll see right here, yeah, it looks very reminiscent to the first episode where Jenny goes up into space to stop the meteor. And you know, they got a bunch of great detail with like the stars and the use of colors, especially this part right here. You know, it looks like the planet Earth, and then you got her silhouette going up into space. Really good detail and really good use of colors, especially considering the show it comes from was very much the same way. I really like the use of colors in that show. So yeah, like as a protective casing goes, I think they did a really good job making this part look good. And then you actually take it out and you see the actual box itself, and it's just as good. And you get the actual box itself. Now, right away, it has, you know, typical blue kind of color like you'd expect for Jenny. But then on its side, you can see that the background they use is supposed to look like her bedroom. And same thing with the back of the box. It's supposed to look like Jenny's bedroom. That's a really, really neat touch. And you have a quote here. This is from the very first episode. It says, "If this D-class meteor destroys the Earth, Mom will dismantle me."
If this D-class dingus destroys the Earth, Mom will dismantle me.
And then you got this quote right here, which is also from the first episode. It says, "I want to have friends and hang out like normal teenagers do."
I want to have friends and hang out like normal teenagers do.
That's just one of the many quotes that you get here. Just like with the Miku Jenny, they have a bunch of different quotes all around. So you'll see you got the little image of Jenny in the corner. You got her in an action pose. This is a relatively popular pose for the character. I believe one of the first appearances of it was in Return of Raggedy Android. It was after she finally defeated the skin suit. But open this part up, you get another quote, and it's "I never get to have any fun," which is from the very first Raggedy Android episode. It was the third episode of the series.
I never get to have any fun.
They're picking a lot of good quotes for Jenny, because she didn't really have a catchphrase or anything. Outside of Crikey, it was probably the unofficial catchphrase of the character. So you take it out of the box, and, well, I do like the little detail that the background is just sort of a regular everyday background with, like, hills and trees and sky and the clouds. Again, it's a really good use of the kind of imagery from the show. It looks really good. They really captured the art style really well. Love the art style of the show. So, yeah, that's the box itself. But now let's take her out of plastic. This one does not come with a stand, so this is going to be kind of a pain in the neck. Oh, look at that. She actually stands pretty well. As for a scale model of the character, they did a pretty good job. They got the action pose down. Okay, yeah. As you can see, there's no neck whatsoever, so that don't expect it to like swivel or whatever. Not that most people will care anyway. They're just going to keep it in the box. Yeah, I mean, look at the key details. They got a lot of it right. You got the eyes that look good. You got the little smirk. They have the little facial indent because, you know, if you remember the show, the way she looked in 2D, she had like the little dent in her cheek. So that's a pretty good detail of that. I like that there's a little indent on her hair, her little bang things here, and that's pretty good. Yeah, I like the little... I don't know why. The detail of the hair and the bangs having like little indents in them, that's pretty good. I was kind of expecting them to just make it like, oh, it's painted on or whatever, but no, that's a pretty nice little detail. Same with the indent in the head, that's a pretty good one. Detail they put into the pigtails and the little screws that hold them in place. Then you got the back of her head, looks pretty good. The action pose, although, look at the weird proportions. They made the hands and the arms look pretty good. And they pretty much captured the entire pose, her little action stance. They did a pretty good job with that. Looks like it did in the actual show. So along with great packaging, good use of colors, really good minor details, and the fact that it actually seems to have pretty good functionality, as minor as it is, but, you know, the fact that it looks like it does in the show, and the fact that it actually seems to be working pretty well, even when it's not on a completely flat surface, and the fact that it pretty much captures the character perfectly, I gotta say, Youtooz actually did a pretty good job with this one. For one of the first official Teenage Robot related anythings in terms of merchandising, this is pretty damn good. And I just gotta say, props to them for actually making pretty cool merch when it comes to a show like this. A show that has been so screwed over and is finally just now getting a bit of a cult following and an audience after all these years. Like almost like 20-something years after the fact. You know, Invader Zim, that got screwed over, but that got merchandise pretty quickly because Nickelodeon quickly realized, oh hey, those guys on the internet that really like that Invader Zim show, we should make t-shirts and book bags and all that crap. This show is just now starting to pick up steam in terms of that, and it seems like it's finally getting its due. So, you know what? You know, for what it's worth, good on them. And even though I'm not the world's biggest fan of Youtooz, like they've, you know, the waiting process is an absolute pain in the neck, and you know, some of their figures I roll my eyes at. But you know what? That being said, Youtooz, when it comes to your Jenny figures, you did a good job, okay? This is genuinely good. But yeah, even though I don't really consider myself a big Youtooz buyer or anything, I will admit, I really did like these figures, and I think that they were incredibly well done. Well, tune in next time where we're going to be doing a little retrospective of a series that honestly should have gotten more love from the late 80s and early 90s. But until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.
Wait, Mr. Reviewer Man, not only do you have to talk about the Jenny plush and the Hot Rod Jenny figure when they arrive, but you also can talk about fan-made Teenage Robot merch. Or what about the K-pop girl group New Jeans, who released an album in collaboration with Powerpuff Girls? Not to mention, it'd be pretty appropriate if you talked about the Kim Possible soundtrack, you know, since you already talked about the Powerpuff Girls soundtrack, so it'd be pretty appropriate you can talk about some of the singles and the music videos.
You guys are way late. I already did a review of something Powerpuffs and Teenage Robot and Kim Possible related, so yeah, you guys are totally late. And no, we're not doing any more storyline or extended sketch stuff, okay? Next time we're going to be talking about Dino Riders, okay? We're doing Dino Riders next time.